Welcome on into Falcons Today by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here with some big news to talk about, and that is Dallas Cowboys are not just limping into Atlanta. They've got a wheelchair and a whole bunch of Band-Aids on right now because they are likely going to be down a lot of key players. So let's start with the latest Cowboys injury report that came out on Thursday, and that has DaRon Bland, their starting corner, who has not played yet this year because of a foot injury he suffered before the season started, but they did activate him off injured reserve. He still has not practiced, and then his other corner, Trevon Diggs, also not practicing with a calf injury. So they were hopeful that DaRon Bland could make his season debut on Sunday. That's not off to a very good start with his inability to practice. But Diggs, who has been starting and playing for them all season long after missing much of last year with a torn ACL he had in practice, he is now missing practice with a calf injury. So you're already kind of down one starting corner because you haven't had Bland all year, but now you're down potentially another starting corner that you have had all year, which is, let's be honest, we don't celebrate injuries, but pretty good news for the Atlanta Falcons receiving core and a pretty good break for Kirk Cousins. They are, like I said, pretty banged up with Diggs hurt and Bland trying to make his debut, and beyond those two guys, there's not a whole lot to like here. Andrew Booth, the former Minnesota Viking, a second-round pick out of Clemson, he was traded in a player-for-player swap, and anytime he sees the field, Joey, our producer today, a Cowboys fan, correct me if I'm wrong, it's kind of a disaster, more or less. Yeah, Joey just gave me a big nod. So, could be a big day for Drake London and Darnell Mooney. The two receivers have over 500 yards each. The Falcons are the only team with two receivers with having 500 yards or more, and they are going to go up against a depleted Cowboys DB room. Plus, Dallas is already looking to bench one of their starting safeties, so on top of all those injuries, things are not very good in the Dallas Cowboys secondary. And for that reason, I'm feeling a blowout. I am sensing an ass kicking. I feel like this is a game where it all comes really crashing down for the Cowboys because that kind of already happened a little bit with the Niners, but at 3-4, you're not really all that out of it. At 3-5, you're still not all that out of it, but when it's on the road and against a team that Cowboys fans feel like they should beat because their franchise is just more famous than the Falcons, it's going to be a big glass of cold water to the face for Cowboys fans. Another reason why I'm feeling a blowout is it's not just because of the depleted secondary for Dallas. How about the ground game in the trenches? Under first-year DC Mike Zimmer, the Cowboys Run Defense ranks dead last in yards allowed, giving up 154. Now, the Falcons' run game isn't one of the best in the NFL. They put up 120 yards per game, but they also aren't very committed to the run. They are tied for 16th in carries. Meanwhile, the Cowboys' run defense, by the way, they have the 10th most carries against, and they still are the worst rushing defense in football. There are 9 teams that have had the ball run on them more and have given up fewer yards per game than Dallas. So for Atlanta, it's pretty simple. Stick to the run, and you're going to be golden, like every other team that has played Atlanta this year. But you don't have to run the ball every single time because you've got Kirk Cousins and Darnell Mooney and Drake London, and the trio right there has put up monster numbers this year, being the only team with 2 receivers with 500 yards or more. So for me, it doesn't matter how you slice it up or dice it up. You want to run the football? Have at it. You're going up against the worst run defense in football. You want to air it out? Have at it. It's a Cowboys defense that doesn't have their 2 starting cornerbacks most likely. So with that all being said, who do you think scores the first touchdown for the Falcons on Sunday? Usually, I have a little bit of a jinx on this channel, and I understand where that comes from. Don't get me wrong. But when I say I'm sensing a skull fucking on Sunday, I'm sensing one. I'm thinking 49-14. Like earlier, I kind of made it a little bit close. Oh, no. I think this is going to be an absolute ass kicking. I'm thinking 21 points in the first quarter. I'm thinking they're talking about Mike McCarthy replacements by halftime. That's how confident I am in this game. Next injury report to watch for, it's the right guard for Dallas, Zack Martin. The All-Pro hasn't really been his usual all-pro self this year, and I'll expand on that in just a moment, but he's dealing with a shoulder injury, which might be good news for Grady Jarrett and David Onyemata and kind of get them going a little bit. But first, I want to give a quick shout-out to our sponsor today, and that is Game Time. Game Time has an awesome feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. One thing I love about Game Time is their all-in pricing option. When you toggle this, it'll show you the total upfront cost so that way you're not hit with a bunch of surprise fees at checkout. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHAT Sports for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. So getting back to the Zack Martin portion of the video, he is dealing with a shoulder injury, and on top of that, it looks like Father Time might be catching up for the former Notre Dame Fighting Irish. I mean, by PFF's metrics, he is the 34th best guard out of 77. He's still a good quality guard, but he's not playing at the usual all-pro, Pro Bowl level that Cowboys fans are accustomed to seeing him. So with that, this could really open things wide open for guys like Grady Jarrett and Onyemata, who Atlanta just needs to get going because they're not getting anything from Judon or Ebiketie. So if they can't find it from the exterior, they're going to have to find it from the interior. And you've got a banged-up guard in Mount Martin. You've got a rookie center in Cooper Beebe. And you've got a rookie left tackle as well to hopefully exploit with Matthew Judon. To me, all of this kind of puts together the perfect storm for the Cowboys, and that is their offense is going to have a really tough time getting things going with that defense hopefully playing hungry. But on top of that, the defense for Dallas, they're really banged up. I mean, not just the secondary, but also the pass rush, which we'll look at in a moment. But for every single Falcons pass rusher out there for every single Falcons pass rusher watching right now, this is your last chance to stop a trade. You need to show Terry Fontenot something to make him believe that he should not give up one of his precious draft picks he has remaining for a Zadarius Smith, a Trey Hendrickson, and Azeez Ojulari, and to stick with the roster he has right now. Because this literally is your last chance. The NFL trade deadline is Tuesday, November 5th, and if he walks out of that stadium thinking, I've given these guys 9 weeks and we have 6 sacks to show for, I have to make a move or else I'm probably going to be the next one that goes. Before we move on to the second half of today's video, I was looking over the YouTube analytics, and since Monday, we have picked up 179 new subscribers. So, I love all of our new subs, but we are still trailing our Cowboys channel here at Chat Sports, but not by a huge margin. We can close this gap. So go ahead and subscribe right now to kind of get the ball rolling on what's going to be, like I said, a skull fucking on Sunday. Fourth player on the injury report of note. Linebacker Micah Parsons. For a second straight day, Parsons did not practice as he continues to battle an ankle injury he suffered against the Giants back in week 4. And at this point, they probably would have been better off putting him on injured reserve and not burning a roster spot on someone who wasn't going to play for the next 4 or 5 weeks. But Parsons this year through 4 games had a sack and 6 QB hits. I mean, we all know how awesome Micah Parsons is. Look at the numbers he put up from 2021 to 2023. He's one of the best pass rushers and run stoppers and just overall playmakers at defense. I feel like Micah's probably one of the few guys, if you had to build a team of one player starting at all 22 positions, Micah might be one of your best bets. I mean, he's just that well-rounded of a football player. But Kirk Cousins in his career, I mean, clearly this kind of speaks for itself, is a much more winning quarterback when he is not sacked as often. And that's true for a lot of QBs. Don't get me wrong. This isn't groundbreaking numbers, but it's definitely worth pointing out that you sack him 0 times or 1 time, he's got a pretty dominant winning record against you. When you get to him 2 or 3 times, things change a lot. No Micah Parsons, no Tank Lawrence. That's going to be tough for Dallas. Now for some Atlanta Falcons injury news of their own. D. Orlando Ledbetter tweeted out, talked to Falcons linebacker Troy Andersen in the locker room today, and he's pretty optimistic about returning this week. That would be awesome for the Falcons. They have missed Andersen since he went down in the Saints game with a knee injury. Every single week it feels like he's getting a little bit closer to returning, but ultimately just can't quite get over that hump. And hopefully on Sunday they can get him back because they really need a healthy linebacker back. Caden Ellis is too busy trying to rush the passer and play his usual position. Nate Landman, who came back from IR after going down in week 1, he does not look healthy out there, but they have to start him because the rookie Bertrand, when he started for Andersen and Landman, it was kind of a disaster at that spot. And also, Bertrand is in concussion protocol right now. So the Falcons really need to get Andersen back because they are really shorthanded at the inside linebacker position. Before we go, on yesterday's video, I asked to name a random Atlanta Falcon. And wow, did you guys answer the call. But I want to highlight one viewer in particular who went above and beyond. He gave me random Falcons at nearly every position group. So Drama Team ENT, kudos to you, man. You came up with some awesome ones. Michael Jenkins catching the first touchdown pass from Matt Ryan. You got a fullback involved. You never see fullbacks get some love. We got D'Angelo Hall. I always think of him more as a Redskin, but that's just kind of my age showing a little bit. So kudos to you, Drama. Drama is like my least favorite character in Entourage, but you're my favorite Drama Falcon viewer. That's for sure. As always, I want to give some love to the Dirty Birds Club for being such loyal and devout supporters of the channel. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us every single episode. If you want to get added to the club, a $100 super chat during our watch parties, those will be back starting for the Saints game. I'm really sorry, just scheduling-wise, it hasn't worked out super duper well the last couple of weeks, but we are through the rough patch almost, and it should be smooth sailing after this.